histories and experiences of communities, or it relates issues around lineage and the like. And so I want us to listen to some praise poetry. Hey, I was ready for the clip and you are here.
No, the clip is ready. Yeah.
Okay. And obviously, that's a familiar voice we've all heard. It's the voice of Zolani Mkiva, Chief Zolani Mkiva, who was former President Nelson Mandela's praise poet, right? And you'd often see him at ceremonial events involving the former head of state. And for many of us, it gave us the impression that praise poetry was something intrinsically linked to the isiXhosa, AmaXhosa culture. But I hear I'm wrong. Good morning, Zolani Mkiva. Yeah, Pila, thank you so much. So we've always thought, because of this vibrant, deep performance, done by people like yourself and the late Jessica Mbangeni, we always thought that this is a thing associated with the Xhosa people of South Africa. And I know I'm wrong, but tell us why it's such an intrinsic part of your culture. Okay. 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 So this is what we're talking about: the preservation of heritage. The poetry itself is telling an oral story. As you said, it's a library of history. It passes on indigenous knowledge, and then you contextualize it for an individual. So it becomes the story of a people, a community, but as it relates to this particular individual. In your case, President Nelson Mandela. There's a lot that you've said there, Zolani Mkiva, and you know, it's historical and cultural significance, but also the fact that this is not unique to the people of the Eastern Cape or Amaxhosa. I'm told that in Setswana, a praise poet is called praise poetry rather is called Maboko. In Zulu, it's called Izibongo, and you find it all across the world. And as you're talking, I'm also struck by the fact that we're now seeing at presidential inaugurations, like in the United States, the poetry of an Amanda Gorman, who's now become almost like the poet laureate of the United States. So even in these so-called Western civilizations, we're seeing Imbongi as well at the highest level. I want you just to hold on, Zolani, because you're not alone here. Let's get a sense of how Imbongi translates when we hear it from the Vendaboy poet.
When in Katashan I attend celebration of those who will far themselves.
Okay, I see you taking deep breaths there, Vendaboy poet, Lutendo Mugagadeli. I don't speak Chivenda, but I heard Jerusalem, so there was some religious thing there going on. There was Mwananga, my child, Ndivuo, you're grateful. And as you sit here, especially when the women ululated, the tears came to your eyes. Did we take you back to a moment there?
Thank you for having me. It was a funeral, and I didn't know what was when I was, praising that poem, and now I could feel that it has touched a lot of people, because now it's touching me because I'm hearing it. That time I was just, performing it, and it's very emotional.
What were you saying? What was said there?
Actually, I was conveying the message in terms of telling the people that he was a great man, Diwo, and I, during my narrating, and they came words where I felt that he is speaking to me, and those words I started to utter them out. That's why it's so much emotional, because he was giving me ways that I should tell the people that they shouldn't be worried, and where he is, he's at Jerusalem, he's in peace.
Yeah, you're still reflecting. And so for you, because you're saying when I narrate, so do you then channel the energy of someone else, the energy of the people? Because Zolani says we know the history that must be conveyed.
Yes.
So he already knows what needs to be conveyed.
Yes.
Right? And then he customizes it to the circumstance, to the person. But it sounds to me like you had a plan, but suddenly the spirit of this person overcame you.
Yes,
Is that what
yes.
happens with you?
That's what happened. Actually, Zolani has articulated very well, and for me, I will say poetry. It's you become a social commentator, where you take the views and the inspiration of people, where you will be concising and precising in a poetic phrases. And in most cases, you might have to prepare the message, but sometimes the message comes spontaneously, one unaware. And for me, praise singing is more of a spiritual gift for me, and it's a calling, where even though sometimes I prepare something, but when I see the situation, the words will keep on flowing. Yeah.
Zolani, does that happen to you where you're prepared, but suddenly you realize the energy, the moment requires something else? There's a spontaneity to what you do.
Yeah, no, in the majority of cases, it is actually spontaneous, even though you prepare, and that preparation is actually part and parcel of your daily consumption of the lived experiences of the people. But as a poet, you can put this attentive memory, photogenic memory, where you scan and capture issues as they happen in society. So when it comes to a particular event, then a poet actually rises to the stage to actually deal with what is happening in that point in time, or reflect and actually address matters as they flow in that particular event. And sometimes there's instances that you might have planned to say ABC,
Yeah.
but only to find that you have added X, Y, Z, which is informed by that particular divine calling and the centrality of the spirituality actually in that event.
Okay, so we call it praise poetry, but here is Lutendo saying, I was speaking at a funeral, so there's no praise there, or is there praise? That's sorrow. And are there moments where you are called in, for instance, maybe politically, and politicians have behaved badly, and suddenly there's a need to reprimand them? Do we just praise in praise poetry, Zolani?
No.
Okay.
Well, I think people use the people who conceptualize this translation of Ngoma into a praise song. It's more like a bastardized form of translation. It's more than just singing the praises. Because as I say, you also critique, and as they say, an oral traditional poet has a license to actually reprimand even leaders and kings in public, and he would not be subjected to any consequence for having done.
Okay,
Because they have
fantastic.
that to do so. So it's more than just singing the praises, because
Okay.
you might as well please the critics,
Yeah.
but I think it's the emphasization of
The word.
our own
Yeah.
that is this term called praise.
Okay, Lutendo.
Yeah.
Not like
Town criers. You're not a town crier. I get it. You're not here to tell us that the weather is good or bad.
Yeah, just to add more on Zolani Mkiva, when you say you have a right or license to reprimand what you be saying, a praise singer is also very much important in terms of religions. You cover. When people when Christianity pray, they pray in different way, and there is also isintu when by pasha and all different things. But when you become a praise singer, you unite the different spirit and different religions as one, because you've got power to can do that. You become a pastor, you become a prayer to the people, you become a prophet, and you advocate the situation or either the event that is happening there. Praise singing, when you are a praise singer, you are much powerful than anyone in the role that is be playing, because the message that you are also uttering, it's not about people should hear it, but you also, ushering it in ways that this is what should happen, even though it can take time to happen. Because sometimes when we be given a task, you find that you are praying something, you are praising something that you wish to be there, and as you've been given ways, and indeed it end up being delivered as such.
Okay. Is there so forgive me what I'm about to ask, if
Okay.
it sounds very trite and stupid. So you're the voice of reason, you're the moral voice,
Yes.
you're the champion for good things, you're the critic of bad things, you provide gratitude, praise, but you also comfort in sorrow. Do you get called upon in the way in which, say, a healer would be called upon to say, sure, we've been living through this drought, we don't know what to do, could you connect us to the ancestors? Is that also your role, or is that no, that's a healer, it's a different thing altogether?
That one I will say, because I've been invited to such kind of at a funeral, and also maybe they've unveiling, and some they are performing cultural activities, and you find that you are being invited and you have been given isthakazelo and the praise singing that you need to claim it. But during those time, then which means you are calling those people, because sometimes when you are given that task of giving praise singing, you find that there is grandfathers, grandmothers of those names that you need to mention, and when you mention those things, and then it also attract them and connect them.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's an aspect to which you're a conduit as well.
Yes.
To the other world.
Yes.
Okay, I understand. Let's talk about the performance itself, Zolani Mkiva. And nobody must laugh at me for what's about to happen. But when you do your performance, you say what you gotta say, you say it in a flurry, you say it with emotion, and then you go, ram. What is that?
That is a signature of my own summation.
Okay.
Way of saying that this is where I come from. It's my full stop.
So each person must have their signature.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, of course, my sister, because of the power of technology, radio and television, and the fact that some of us have been privileged to have been given this opportunity to be in the formative stages of the new South Africa, so to say.
Yeah.
So some people also draw from that, which is accepted.
Poetic license. You must copyright that.
How people are influenced
Yeah.
by one poet and so forth. We are also inspired by some of the great poets that came. And as my brother was saying, we are also prophets in our own right.
Yeah.
We can prophesy what should be happening and what will happen.
Okay.
And we say that not as prophets of doom. We say that in the context of the fact that we are also carriers of wisdom, of African wisdom.
Okay.
So we communicate the message to advise, to ensure that leadership does not go astray. As he said, to play that role of leading and uniting.
Okay. So Vendaboy poet, do you also use other kind of performative tools? Do you use music sometimes? Do you sing through your poetry? Do you have a signature?
Yeah, I do have a signature.
What's yours?
My signature is Zolani Mkiva is aware of it. Everywhere when I enter, I start with it, and then when I also conclude, that's my signature. And I was very much fortunate to understand poetry in a different way, because Zolani Mkiva is one of my influence. The late Jessica Mbangeni, we also worked together. She's also people that I looked into, and the likes of Mzwakembule, it's the people that I also look into. For me, I became a versatile poet, where I do poetical music and also narrative, protest, different kind of poetry, where even it's in musical, I've done that in different way, even in different kind of music genre. I've done that, and I finally found that I can gel very well in terms of those different kind of genre, in poetry.
Okay, Zolani, final question to you. Can this art form, because I'm understanding it to not be art, it's mystical, you're called to it, can it just be passed on to the next? In other words, can somebody just wake up and say mina ngiyimbongi, or it's really got to be something you're trained for, you are endorsed to do, and then you're very careful who the gift is passed on to. And if that's the case, are Mbongis a dying breed? Are we going to see a new generation of Mbongis emerge, or this is work that needs to be done now because it's going to be a dying art form?
Very much central our humanity to our design of living, particularly as Africans. But it has instead, it has grown, and as it grows, it has catch some form of dynamism elsewhere in other societies. Because even rapping, in master guys for you can mention rap, you can mention hip hop.
Yeah.
All of them are actually derived from the base line of traditional hip hop. So it's not growing, it's not dying,
Yeah.
it is growing.
Okay.
And what we have to do is to ensure that also maintain and protect and preserve the original form,
Okay.
so that for all intents and purposes it is a point of reference.
Okay.
Because it has been used by societies to come and actually cut ethic from.
Okay. Vendaboy poet, the future generations and the future of this kind of praise poet.
I think they should look to people like us, because we also look to people like Zolani Mkiva, Jessica Mbangeni, how we play our role. But it's very much important. You ask a question that is very much important. How can we pass to another one? You know, I discovered praise singing while I think I was 17 to 18 years, somewhere around there. But all along, I didn't know that I was a praise singing. And after I gel into it, that's why I realized that I'm gifted, and because I started to support it. But you know, it's a gift. It's not something that can just pass to anyone, but anyone can have that
Gift.
Yes.
It's just about identifying it.
Yes.
I want to thank you so much for joining us on today's Culture Corner. Zolani Mkiva, former praise poet to President Nelson Mandela. He's still a praise poet. He's also a member of Contralesa, so passing on tradition in lawmaking. And Vendaboy poet, that's what he's called. His name is Lutendo Mugagadeli. A lot of reference has been made today to Jessica Mbangeni. She passed on a week ago, and she is known as one of the foremost female praise poets. So her funeral is this week, and maybe we should just remember what she sounded like as we say goodbye for this edition of Power Talk.
Phambili mafasi, phambili mazazi Mbele mjem, mazazi mabela bhongcele kunqanqa isidwa thuke, nenyatha mazeli lizwe, mind holders of generations, redeemers and releasers of humankind, from stumbling blocks and obstacles of our daily living. Phambili mbokodo, ezihaya ezigcwele kusina kudidyanwe, kuhluze kusona kuhluthwa, phantsi izombela lithuka Afrika, ikhansi nonkeleba. Magokha mnyama, magokha etluka khokho, hloniphani ibhongo nekhaya lomzonsundu, kaloku sibhinqa